I'm torn between having to speak African to prove that I'm African in America and speaking French to prove that I'm African in Francophone African countries. What? I'm torn between dealing with the gangs and the tribes, both practicing ethnic cleansing. I'm torn between dealing with one set of my beleaguered brothers dying for hot diamonds and my other beleaguered brothers living to be iced out. But it still doesn't even out. I'm torn between watching trafficked African sex slaves having hinds torn and American child porn. I'm torn between dealing with the child soldier and the child gangbanger on the corner. I'm torn between watching African military leaders telling our kids they don't need school to rule, and American hip-hop artists telling our kids they don't need school to be rich or cool. I'm torn between dealing with corporations using both my communities as a toxic ditch. I'm torn between I'm Mobutu Sese Seko and I'm Rick James, bitch, and I don't know whether to laugh or cry, sis. Well, I love using my artistic abilities to empower others. I take my work anywhere from prisons to the richest private schools, and I try to show young folks particularly that they can use art in a positive way. They can use art to tell their story. They don't have to swear. They don't have to disrespect women. And I tell them that actually the true way to release their frustration should be through the art. I get annoyed when I go into a prison and somebody says, well, I've never heard anything like you. I get offended almost because I ask myself, how could you be 22 years old, 25 years old, and never been exposed to Maya Angelou or Nikki Giovanni or Sonia Sanchez? All of these people who poured their lives into their art, and our kids just don't get a chance to see it. So I've told myself that I have to bring it to them directly so they can see it every single day that they're with me, and also realize that there are a lot of other people around them who are doing it and making a positive living off of being a positive artist, and more people need to see that. So I'm trying to take it to as many people as possible.
With your intellectual pursuits, how does the creative writing help or hurt? Does the creative writing help or hurt that?
Oh man, it's
like when you take, do you take the creative writing impulse, that creative impulse, do you take that into your, because I know you're in like educational policies, international educational policies. So how do you take that creative impulse and bring that into, if you do at all?
Yeah, I have to. I'd be like that or something. I get sad when I see other artists in programs like dancers, like, oh, once I started my program, I stopped dancing, I stopped painting, you gotta bring it together. So no, I bring it in. Like my doctoral research is on the use of the arts as a tool for social change. Because I've seen it firsthand. It saved my life, I've seen it save other people's lives. So all my research is on that, studying people like John Dewey and all these other guys, from like the 1930s and who spoke about the importance and the necessity of art in creating global citizens or creating, civil citizens, whatever you. So it's very important. So I'm in my classrooms doing work on this. If I have a presentation to do on a particular issue, I'll introduce it with a poem. I can't escape the poetry. I've tried to escape it and it just keeps coming back. So I've just decided to embrace it and let it take me where it's going to take me. Because as proud as I am to be who I am, I sometimes feel like I have an identity crisis. Now I know why I'm so fond of Transformer cartoons, because the way people always want me to change up, I feel like I might as well switch my name from Omékongo to Omékongo Dibinga until people realize that in getting past my name and frame, there's much more than meets the eye. But whether I be the American countryman or the transcontinental African, I know that both identities end in I can. So I know that I can be me. Let my words do the talking and my actions do the walking, because I will never fit into your box, whether I got a fade or some locks. So the next time you're trying to figure out who I am and which stereotypical categories I cover, I'll be covered and content if you just call me that brother. Thank you. Since I was heavily disrespected because of my name and my culture, and the poetry of Maya Angelou and Nikki Giovanni helped me discover who I was and helped me be proud as an African. And so it just keeps me going, and I want other people to experience poetry because it can be something that can save their lives. I want them to experience positive hip hop because a lot of kids, a lot of adults have never seen it before. So I feel like I gotta take it to them. So it's an integral part of my life. I can't stop. They say you can't stop the madness and sadness when you don't have an address. She sits sadly on the sidewalk stoop, begging humans for spare change, not realizing that she inhabits a society that's too cold for anyone to spare change. So she wanders aimlessly while old eyes gallantly by her shamelessly, and she wonders what their response would be if her visage was more famously recognizable. But when you're less at home, you don't amount to anything sizable. So she finds a hole under the bridge that has failed to link her to the highway of humanity's heart. And she wonders what her world would be like if those bills weren't so late, or if those pills eased her aches, or if at age 5 there was no rape by her father. But why bother? Because you can't stop the madness and sadness, but you don't have an address. So she finds a hole under the bridge that has failed to link her to the highway of humanity's heart. And she wonders what heat feels like in the cold of winter human thought.
Some people deal in dabble, but they don't consider themselves an artist. When did you sit down and say, I'm a poet?
Wow, when did I say I'm a poet? I think when 7th grade. I was in 7th grade when I got brought down to the office for something stupid, teacher cursing at me. While I was sitting there in the guidance office, I got mad and just wrote this poem called A Young Black Man's Anthem. And that poem, which is the name of my first CD, that kind of convinced me that this is something that I can do, and I don't only have to recite the poetry of people like Maya Angelou and Nick Giovanni. I can be producing it myself.
But this just adds too much fuel to the fire of one of Earth's fallen angels, living too close to hell in a world that resembles the devil. So disheveled, she wonders, how could hell be so cold? And how could another man be so bold to believe that as he walks by in his suit and TIE, that it can never one day be in the same place as she? And so she cries out loud, is there really no place for me? As she looks out at a society sick with the syndrome of selfishness and see now to serendipity if she only had a P.O. box so that she could receive correspondence to acknowledge her existence, or she just had an ID to prove that she was part of humanity. But where is City Hall for the humane? It's only at this point she realizes that day has turned to night, and the government today won't be her knight in shining armor, but are more of us going to keep turning our backs to the stats of those who roam, less of home? Where is a presidential address for those without an address? One of that bridge she sleeps under, bridge the gap between those who preach on their soapboxes and those who live in one. And shopping malls, see CNN slip itself, Palestinian peace treaties and refugees returning home. She wonders how an Afghan can stand in a US constructed house while her son sleeps in a cardboard box with a dead mouse and pigeon for pets. She wonders whether there will be Camp David Accords or North American and homelessness agreements for citizens abandoned by the American dream.
Any aspiring poet, you have to be true to yourself, study the greats, but don't copy the greats. Use them as a point of departure and just be true to your story, not someone else's story. The more authentic you are, the more people are gonna feel you. But don't get out there and just copy what it is you see everybody else doing. You have a story, you have a voice, you have a history. Use that to channel what you're doing and don't just try to reinvent someone else's wheel.
Cool. Well, anything else? Is that all we need to know about you, man?
You can check me out at www.thechangeisiseek.com and let's keep building as a community.
That's what's up, man. Good to have you.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Again,
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, first of all, I wanted to ask what your name meant, if you felt like sharing it, if you wanted to share it. But I wanted to talk about that naming because I think, like I said, it seems to be a heavy theme in your work. Could you talk about your name and just the concept of naming?
No doubt.